Take my hand if you want to live. This seems to be the lifeline, the weakest link. Most cases, everyone finds that they meet that moment. And that's what you're here for today. We want to give you a very, very clear path. Most people tend to give up before they even start due to the nature of the human condition. This is not your standard deviation or your version of the true self. It's more a very limited stretch that everyone goes through. The growing pains of self require an application. That's why we constantly remind people that to condition thyself is to know thyself is to reveal that there is no self. And so today we want to go over these very simplistic things, the exogenous stressors, the body itself, your understanding of how that changes who you are, what you are, where you are. And furthermore, the mind as a conductor, not a separator, but a conduit for you to recognize your own true power. This is all within the construct and the formulation that comes with you. And we are going to give you some clear indicators that you can get over those humps and find a better form of a solution that may very well seem like an impossible mountain to climb. And so when you get into these states, for example, this channel is devoted to Taoist alchemy, which helps and clearly identifies what you need to do to maintain, hold a charge of your own true self, minus the external stresses. We refer to that as the Wei Dan, the external state, and we refocus your attention on the internal state. And when those two meet, which is Nidan, you evoke what we call Nigong. Now, most people will find that when you get to these points, you are brought up to literally a brick wall. So, today it's very popular. Most people are like, I don't need a belief system. I don't need a God. I don't need a religion. I don't really need any foresight, insight, recite, reevaluation. I just need to be in the now. Now, I would agree 100%. This is the truth. Being in the now requires a no fear emanated state of holy stream. We refer to that as the primordial mother. The holiness is when you are no longer participating in your experience. This is a very, very clear convergence of past, present, and future, which is always made up of thoughts, feelings, and emotions. We talk about this, the mastering of yourself. You are the master keeper, creator of your reality. We, Jade and myself, always speak on this within this channel. So if you're new to the channel, hit a subscribe, hit a like, and stay tuned here for more of the nuggets that will help you a clear path of finding yourself. And that's really the beauty of what we offer. We integrate things that are more ancient, ancestral, and very rich in these processes that have been handed down for generation to generation for thousands of years. We bring them to you in a contemporary offering, and from that you find a clear path of awareness. I mean, the convergence is clear, and most people tend to break that down from a body aspect. They're making themselves limited instead of recognize they're unlimited. So how do you start that path? In most cases, it comes from just taking a moment to recognize what is more of a ritual that, yes, the now moment is all we have. Yes, this is the presence that most parapsychologists refer to as psychokinesis, physicists, scientism, the whole cult of scientism will refer to it as a 0 point, this convergence, this moment where everything is as one. We refer to it within Taoism. This is a holy stream, the primordial mother, Wu Ji, where you are able to meet that, and from that, possibilities become endless. You emote, embody, and create this fundamental expression of self, which is whole. And that's the beauty of bringing heaven to earth through our chemical process. So if you're just someone who is stumbling across this information, confused about there is a path or isn't a path, which is a majority of people that are always looking, they're always seekers. There's the beauty of seeking is, in the end, because there is a completion, you will find it. And so another inception within Taoism is a creation, completion, and rebirth, which is a very clear path that you can interject and embody at will at any moment, any time, any place, anything. This is from a conditioned process. So, when someone says, hey, look, I don't need to be anything, any place, any person, any belief system, any religion, that is absolutely phenomenal that you have come to that self-realization. Now the proof is in the pudding. Put up or shut up. Show me. What is the true makeup of self? That requires no participation of the finite mind. So processes is a thing. And really, when you grind it down and you finally turn it into dust, or you return it to the wood chipper, it becomes very easy to be very clear, because alchemy is an inside-out experience. It's neidan to weidan. It's not weidan to neidan. We're not taking external, exogenous stressors, attempting to restructure what is already your true self. We're taking the true self, we're removing any limitations of the external, which in essence is the mind. So your psyche, your belief systems, they're all constructed around limitations. Mm-hmm. And so when we alchemize it, which is the most ancient practice of Taoism, the body speaks louder than words. We're no longer hesitant to find the truth, because the truth is beyond your interpretation or your version of self. It's just there. So we use the analogy, you hit the ground running. Imagine you're driving down the street in your car. You pull over to the side of the road, you get out of the car is still idling. This is the true sense of self, where the body is now working independently of the mind. Now you have really arrived to liberation, because no matter how concise or introspective or myopic that you might be from the finite mind, the body will speak the volumes that are necessary to get your attention. This is a convergence, and that's how we do it through alchemy. So the physicality of self generally becomes inverted, and most people don't recognize that they're consuming too much of one end of a spectrum, because until otherwise noted, you know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. So what's the spectrum? Well, within a material state, we talk about metaphysics of Tao. Highest point of actualization is the primordial mother, which is the animation to all things. She animates consciousness. Consciousness animates the spirit animates energy animates the material state, the body. So what is that? That means that it's the lowest frequential expression of self, and it's distorted. It's not whole. This is an extension of self. A mic. My body is an extension of self. Jade's body is an extension of self. The camera is an extension of self. Once you start to identify these things, Is this the absolute? No, it's an extension. It's a variable. Imagine you're like Spider-Man. The web extends out, and what's going on is you're seeing this melding pot where you are body-centric, using your ability to converge attention and intention. This is another ancient practice we call Qigong. And Qigong is where your attention and intention meet, evoking the immortal self. That's the holy stream. The heaven on earth is actualized right now. That means that you have unlimited access to all things material, all things energetic. And this is where the shit show begins and the rubber meets the road, and you recognize you are all fucking powerful. And that's a beautiful part. There is, you are not limited to anything. Like any issue that you may have brought yourself to bring you to this conversation, listen to what we're proposing as a solution to your problem. This comes with the unfettered access. You are all things and nothing. This is the absolute. We refer to this as the great bellows. So you're contracting and expanding at the same time. You can see variables of this through all different types of belief systems. I would propose the cautionary tale of not throwing the baby out with the bathwater when you're looking to find yourself. It's taking that time to recognize that through a method and a system, you can be realized. And the ultimate is to switch all things on. So you're not getting bits and pieces. Most people tend to find that they get a taste of, I'm psychic, I'm a medium, I'm a healer, I'm a channeler, and these are all great variables. Yet you tend to absorb too much of one and not another the other. So then the body starts to speak to it. So the system starts to break down. The body, over a biological timeline, deconstructs. And so most people is what we call spiritual bypassing. Most people step past that and they get a little caught in the weeds. They go, I'm psychic, but I can only do like one client a day because it takes a tremendous amount of energy. That is not an inference. That is not an interpretation. That is not a meeting of self. If you are limited by your expression, you are not in that moment where you are whole. You are a consumed variable. So when you get a psychic, a medium, a healer that says, I can only do so much for one day, they are already at their max. They're meeting the edge of potential and possibility, yet they retreat and return back because it's too much to consume, because the thoughts, feelings, and emotions, you don't make me feel good. You don't really like me. You just want to fight me. Now, they are classic spiritual guided words from a guru by the name of Tekashi 6ix9ine. But let's not get so caught up in this kind of spiritual rhetoric. Gurus, shmurus, right? The truth is, you are unlimited. You are perfection. And so the deciphering is your Charlotte to your Watson. You're attempting to congeal, to codify, to solidify this version of self. And everyone gets detached. They get detached, and there is an absolute rite of passage for that. And that rite of passage is when you detach and attach, which is part of Taoist alchemy. Yet, if you're not getting clear signal, you kind of get into this soft spot where, I'm psychic. I've got telekinetic powers. I'm super powerful. I can move objects. I can channel information. I can do energy healing. Now, a lot of it is, pretty much just the, Robert De Niro Taxi Driver moment where you're repeating a convincing script in the mirror to yourself until you believe it. Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? So this can go on and on for a lifetime. What we're proposing, what we're suggesting to you listening today is no, it doesn't have to. Yet your impatience and the fact that things haven't codified for you yet is the very sword you're dying on. Mm-hmm. And most people are putting themselves in a position where they're not prepared to meet their most potent self. Because every time they come up to the edge of it, they fall into a heap. This is understandable. You need guidance, return home. To return home is to find your true self. This is nothing more than a conditioning process. That's why you do it. You take the time, you follow a method that is thousands of years old, and you recalibrate self to that holy stream, which in Taoism we refer to as heaven on earth. Then the rubber meets the road. Then you can find these potent moments where you actualize things that is distorted within material. You're actualizing it so you have the ability to affect change, return it back to its holy state. This is the magic, the mystery, the manifestation, the healing properties of Taoist alchemy. That's why it is so potent. And we go deep into the words, the construct, the infinite possibility of self. And it all comes down to how long can you hold that node, right? Well, how do you apply it? See, this is where the exogenous stresses come in. The body itself will show you your limitations. You go for a run, you go for a sprint, you do an exercise, and you get to a certain point where you go, shit, I have to give up. I'm failing. The body is telling me it's not possible. The body is telling me I have to stop. Whether you do an exercise where you feel the blood flow and the lactic acid buildup in the muscle tissue, where there's literally a threshold of pain that puts you in an indicator of what am I prepared to do? Do I meet that pain and push past that threshold, or do I stop just before it's considered too much? And what happens is the psyche will teach you that you are not able to withstand that pain. Pain is an indicator you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, that's an absolute fallacy. And the truth is within Taoism, we use the alchemical process to breathe from beyond the body, breathe into the consciousness, and then the respiration, the biology become a non-mood point, a non-moving point. Again, alchemical process. So
conditioning.
Yeah.
I think we all go through that process where we've had that level of pain and then we've failed. And then when approached with it again, we've learned to move past it, or we've learned to alchemize it. We've learned to condition the body that, hey, no, I can sprint an extra 10 seconds this time. I know, or I can hold my breath an extra 10 seconds this time. Whatever that level is, that all does come with that conditioning. Any athlete has ever done it before. Any mother has ever done it before. Any person, going through an immense transformation in that sense. And I think it's so interesting you talk about this conditioning that we watch superhero movies or any type of movie with a superhero, and there's always the same kind of origin story of realizing their potential, realizing their incredible gifts, and then a conditioning process that goes along with it of, okay, how do I use it? How do I fly but not fall and die? How do I hold it? How do I control the strength I have? And then they meet that moment where it actualizes. And it's like, it's so easy to watch that on a cinematic depiction of it. Yet we forget that we ourselves are that person, that superhero, that super gift, that miracle, that instance of complete connection and knowing with self. And it's just another reminder for everybody of how powerful yourself really is once actualized. And that does take a conditioning process that I think ultimately everybody goes through at their own pace, at their own level, at their own speed.
Amen to that. And so, what's a very gracious, gracing transition is, meeting the biology that, you got past that threshold. All our students meet the biology and they exceed the biology because, all is one, one is all. And the power of their true self, their serum, their absolute, will exceed that. So the biology is completely reborn. So we always talk about this, the great bellows, contracting, expanding, the trilogy, the trinity, the actualization of self is this blossoming effect of creation, completion, and rebirth. This happens with everything. It doesn't matter what you put your attention to, whatever you apply yourself to, you're going to find the growing pains of this cycle. So, I want to become an actor. I want to be a singer. I want to be an athlete. I want to master my skills as a pool player. All these examples are where you have to apply thyself and start to condition in a process where you're synchronizing that skill. And from that, the completion of your adaptation will be in the evidence. So, you become better because application is how you recognize that betterment is nothing more than advancement. So from an alchemical process, as you continue to realign thyself and consume the variables, the distortion, you bring it back. I refer to it as throwing it back into the wood chipper. That concentration becomes whole. Separation, divergence becomes convergent. And then you get to feel the pulpability of this conversation we're having right now, that you return back to whole. So the birthing of self is, I have just recognized I am pursuing Taoism. I'm pursuing exercise. I'm pursuing a career in archaeology. I want to be a place, person, or thing. Understanding that every iteration returns back to the same place. But the evidence, dear Watson, is the proof in the pudding. That is the thing. And so when you apply thyself, truth will be told. Your truth, your absolute truth, the only truth, will show itself. And so disappointment is more part of the licks of restructuring, because the more you attempt to apply yourself and you feel the resistance, you feel the failure, you feel this broken path, you are right where you need to be. This is where we refer to when you're at your lowest, you're at your highest. So don't allow the psyche, who basically is literally unemployed at this point because you have met that moment. Every time you get closer to your true self, the psyche will give you a version saying, you don't need to go any further. Oh my goodness, this is so dangerous. You need to create. And so justification is the garbage that keeps flowing from someone who really wants to run away from their own potency. And so that justification will come in all forms. Whether you go to the gym and you're exercising and you go, you know what? I want to achieve a goal. This is the creation. I just looked at the bench press. I'm going to go in. I'm going to lay under that bar. I'm going to press the bar. I'm going to adapt to 10 reps. And those 10 reps are going to become a part of me. This is the embodiment that we talk of within Taoism. And once that happens, you have now adapted to that resistance. That threshold is now yours. And then that application becomes bigger and bigger. So the more you pull everything in and it comes into that center point, which is the convergence, not the divergence, the convergence, then you recognize you're getting stronger. The energy is more concentrated. It is whole in its nature. It's absolute in its nature. It is not divergent. It's not broken. It is not limited. And these are all things that you're going to attempt to justify as that's okay. Well, what is okay? You can be okay with yourself in any way, shape, or form. Society today has given most people this lie, and they've taught them to think that I am just on average or above average. So what does that mean?
It's okay to be average.
And you know what? That is very true. It is okay to be average. When you apply yourself as average, you will do exactly what creation, completion, and rebirth. You will sustain that average variable for the rest of your life. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But Jade and I know who you really are. And you are not average. You are whole. You are holy. You are all-powerful. You are unlimited. Your abundance, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite in your nature. This is the true natural selection of you. So when you are moving through and navigating through the labyrinth of the finite mind as your Sherlock to your Watson, gets you to recognize human condition is nothing more than that the true self is the human beingness, the absolute, the secret source, the most potent self is the empathy. That's your superpower. But what happens is people don't recognize they have no empathy for themselves. So it's very difficult to translate that to others when you are your worst critic.
Yes.
And the mind
Comes back to the mind.
The mind is considered through your own conditioning, through ancestral patterns and also ancient rituals that have forged this version, your lightning rod as your emanated self right now in this incarnation, is either half-cooked, fully cooked, medium cooked. Where are you at? I can tell you right now, you are at the verge. You are at the verge of convergence.
Right.
And it's just a matter of time. By hearing this, you know where you need to be. The thing is, there's a breakdown of the system. Nothing can hold that sustainability as you constantly raise the bar. It's just not going to happen because you fill out more space. Because it's imagine you're like this, if you've ever seen an oil spill or someone pouring oil into a plate, you've had, bread with olive oil and balsamic vinegar. Beautiful. It's very tasty. When you pour the oil into the plate, it's whole. When you pour the vinegar into the plate, it starts to divert. It starts to break up. When you bleed out, it's all-encompassing. The oil will take over the balsamic vinegar, and it will be complete. But you have to find that moment where that convergence happens, and the potential is unlimited. So when you're on your path of self-realization, these are the moments you meet. And just when you've convinced yourself through justification that I can't continue, whether it's meditation, whether it's a math equation, whether it's an exercise, whether it's reading a book, whether it's you just got double, overtime at your job and you just worked 8 hours, but they just gave you another 4. This is where you meet what is the old version to the new version. What are you capable of? If you're getting overtime at work, do you want the extra 4 hours at double pay? Of course you do. But then you convince yourself, well, I've worked a hard day. I can't possibly work any harder. I need to pass on the overtime. Or you do it out of a desire that is coming from that material state.
It's overriding the system. Because it all comes down to the mind is controlling what's going on ultimately until you dictate what's going on with the mind. So if your mind says, hey, I can't lift 300 pounds, then the body is going to respond to that limitation. If the body says, I'm going to lift 300 pounds regardless of what I think, because guess what? my son's underneath a car and I have to pick him up. And if I don't, he's going to die. It's like that will dictate over your limitation of, I don't care what it is. That's more important. That's more valuable. That's more of a knowing and a driving force for me than the idea that, oh, I don't think I can pick it up. But it all comes back to that mind and what's truly running the system. Where is that information coming from? Is it a limitation from your past? Is it your excitement for this new journey? And what is controlling this outcome in that moment?
Right. And like she said, from the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so mind, until otherwise noted, is a separate extension of self.
Exactly.
So, it's like the web from Spider-Man's hands. He shoots a web. It's an extension of him. It stretches out longer. But the truth be known, there is no extension. All is one, one is all.
Mm-hmm.
You're all things and nothing. Yet we're referring to, as you realize you have unlimited strength because your intuitive innate nature, the true selection is that as a mother, as a true bearer of life itself, your child exceeds your own self-worth. Your child exceeds your own limitations, because the true empathy that comes from the inner child, that is that holy stream, that oneness, that absolute, that heaven on earth, will unleash this empathetic nature from the human being.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, the mother can lift up a car that's 5,000 pounds because you have tapped into the shit. You are now abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. You are the absolute, the holy stream. It doesn't require some process of the finite mind. Mm-mm. So we get back to this in your own journey. Whenever you're applying for anything, you're serving your application for what might be. What will it be, Governor? Well, the truth be known, anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just as Jade mentioned, the inner strength of a mother pulling a car up off their child, whatever the circumstance, when you come up to the edge of self-realization and you meet thy maker, as we refer to it, all bets are off. All bets are off. So this is where the natural selection will push you towards over the edge. You want to dive. But whatever's left of the unemployed finite mind is going to give you justifications of your own limitation. Oh, look, if you go any further, if you do any more exercises, your legs are going to be sore, or maybe you could hurt yourself. You might hurt your back if you do a squat like that. You don't know. You've got all these other things. You've got to go to work tomorrow. I mean, it just stacks on.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is you end up in a place where there's discontent in every version. Everywhere you look, you're disappointed in the outcome because it's your creation. You're the master keeper creator of your reality. So no matter what, you're creating a very distorted version of self. You're really, when you're the baker, you're putting in half a cookie instead of a full cup cookie. So when the cookies come out, they're half baked instead of fully baked because you've decided that, guess what? I don't have it in me. Mm-hmm. It's not possible. You haven't been given the evidence to go past condition to beingness, which requires application. So when you have a new version in the new age self, I'm an information effer, I'm constantly looking for more and more information, you will find the groove that satisfies your substantive self, where people that fall into, Taoism or alchemy, they're not wavering. They fall in and they know, holy shit, this is the true nature of self. The more and more I apply, the more and more I'm given, you're receiving. And so when you receive, you complete, then you're reborn again.
Exactly.
So that's what the conditioning is.
And it's more evidence. And I think it goes right back to your point too, where this is why you need the importance of a system and the importance of that knowing and that higher source, whether it's, people fall into God or Jesus, Buddha, religion, Taoism, whatever it is, they need that ultimate because it eliminates the limitations of the finite mind. You have that knowing, you have that deeper connection where there is no thought process to it. You sit right into that groove. You feel the highest high you've ever felt until that next rebirth of it. But it comes from that connection to source, to the ultimate, to, any variety of words you want to describe it as. It's undescribable until felt. And once it is felt, there's no unfeeling it.
And that's right. That's why we revert back to the conditioning process, and you create an oscillating, reverberating, somatic, kinesthetic experience that goes, it's psychokinetic. So you meet this very moment, and now it's alive. You're the camera, you're Jade, you're me, you're the mic, you're the room, you're the universe. You can taste the energy. Oh yeah, baby. And so this is all yours for the taking. What will it be, Governor? Can I have some more? You want some more, boy? That's right. You are Oliver Twist, and you want some more, and Tao have it will give you more because that is not a requirement. It's a Tao given right for you to emanate and embody the true self. And so the more and more you apply, the more and more you are received and accepted and completed and then reborn. And that potency continues. And so I couldn't be more an advocate for people's most brittle, abrasive, freezer burn moments where they cannot handle. You can't handle the truth of self, which is your unlimited, your abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite, the true nature to all things. You are the animation, the primordial mother. And so we always return back to that. So when you're struggling with these moments, whatever the circumstance, depression, anxiety, fear, frustration, anger, limitation, envy, revenge, all these things are summarized to bring you to a new point. And know the only basis you need to verify this on is when the shit hits the fan, you're right in the right place at the right time. This is a part where all things come together, all roads return, all rivers return to the ocean, as we put it within Taoism. There are no exceptions to the rule. So on your journey of your sensory perception actualization, which means all senses come in, and your monologue is still unclear because you haven't taken the pin out of the dialogue with your higher self that comes through iterations of spirits and teachers that keep giving you this culmination of truth serum, you go through that process. So you're on this convergence of a breaking, which is what we refer to it as. Some New Agers might refer to the dark night of the soul. It's a variation of self. It's not going to happen any other way. And so, if you believe in angels, if you believe in heaven, if you believe in hell, if you believe in demons, these are all things that become part of your operating system. And don't be the NPC, because you're not. You are not a non-player character. You are the main event. And you are the one that codifies everything else. Everything else is in the periphery for you to find this true self and to develop this true self and to heighten the power of self through the process. And the exciting part is anything is possible. And so while you're on that journey, go deeper. And if you're listening to this conversation, that means that you want to alchemize it, whether it's through our personal training as a student. You can find applications at immortaltaoistrights.com, or you can go through a more conventional digital asset where you microdose the energy potential through our app, the Way 126 experience. And you can find all this information through our social media, whether
It's in the
YouTube,
description.
It's in the description. And don't forget to subscribe. And if you like this video, if you found anything informative about this information, please put a thumbs up and a like, add a comment. Let us know what you're getting out of this material, because we're here to remind you how powerful you are. Don't dismiss this potency where you'll gravitate to a more certainty that comes from a belief system, an ancient practice, whether it's religion, whether it's alchemy, whether it's just a deeper version of self, cosmology, more astrophysics, physics. They're all versions. Numerology, sacred geometry. These are all variables. Dowsing rods. All these things are all part of who you are. Gravitate to that fine point and make it possible, because that's the journey you're on.
Absolutely.
But do not be afraid of self. This is the part where people give up.
Yeah.
No, it's not to give up. You're so close. The fact that you're so close is the reason why you have to jump off the edge.
Yeah.
And that apprehension is the only thing that's stopping you. The powers to be, whatever's left of your unemployed finite mind, will attempt to justify and
Limit.
basically regulate you or control you with a negotiation. There is no negotiation. It's all is one, one is all. And the truth be known, there's nothing to negotiate with. It has zero power. It kind of very much like a geological sort of like framework of just humanity as we know it right now, whether it comes from planet Earth or different parts of the continent where we're going from, country to country. There is no limitation when it comes to what you're capable of. It just comes down to now you've been given the support, you've been given the green light. We're here to continue to green light you, not gaslight you,
Right.
green light you to your absolute self,
Right.
because you are unlimited.
I think it goes like back to anytime you watch like a movie that has like a Groundhog Day type of experience in it, where you watch the character and it's like, oh, I'm reliving the day again. I'm reliving the day again. I think the worst possible thing is just reliving the exact same thing that you did. And I think so many people fall into that rut of, oh, I work a 9 to 5. I get the weekends off. I get a 2-week vacation every year. That's my life for 50 years. Then I retire. Then I get old. I get sick and I die. And it's like, that's the worst thing. If you're having a Groundhog Day, or you've ever watched a movie with it, every day they try something new. Hey, I know this is going to happen. Guess what? I'm going to turn to the left this time instead of turn to the right. Oh, that didn't work out. Guess what? I get to do it again. What do I get to try tomorrow? I get to I get to take the red pill instead of the blue pill. Oh, what happened this time? And it's like these are these exciting things that you get faced with, these little events where you get to go, hey, that made me feel so uncomfortable. I'm going to do it. Why? Because I need to push past whatever is telling me, no, this is too much for me. Because you never know. I always tell my kids, you never know until you try it. You never know until you do it. You never know until you experience it. And that experience itself is the teacher, is the method, is the understanding of everything around you, and connecting into that ultimate high source that we talk about.
Amen to that. And so with that,
and just getting back to your constant one-liner, you say, I will always try anything once.
right.
In the sense that everything is a possibility. There is no limitations. There is no factors that are holding me back. I am open to experiencing anything experienceable.
Yeah. And so, in closing, I want to thank Jade. I want to thank you for sharing your time with us. And honestly, I'll give you a little antidote to the very poison that pollutes your mind. We refer to that as the Rhapsody. And the Rhapsody, come along with us on a magical mystery ride right now. You can close senses, open senses, take a deep breath, just settle into the potency that it is the very imbued linguistics that you are writing on right now. And the Rhapsody is quite simple, infinite like a diamond. You open the skyscraper of the mind as it is unlimited. It drops deep in the core of Mother Earth as you look out upon the universe, the cosmos, which is a reflection of your true self. You dig deeper into the center core, unraveling this most beautiful innate nature. The nature of self is to be nurturing the bosom of the Mother Earth as you suckle the very nurturing and sustainable essence that returns you back to the river of your true self, the fluidity, the power that lies within you. Inhale. Exhale. Feel that bleed out through the system. Let the body own this most potent moment. Let it reverberate, oscillate, insulate who you really are. The body is another tuning fork, a lightning rod of true self. And as you listen to these most poetic words of wisdom through the lens of self, it returns you back to that center point and bleeds out into the absolute, giving you a true indication that you're right where you need to be. Let the body glow, let the body emanate, let the body oscillate as this present moment is who you really are. Sit with that. Be with that. Emanate that as heaven on earth, as who you really are. Remember, we have just begun. I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Qing, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.